You can scream and shout with all your might.
Yes, I have returned at last.
Dig in your heels and hold on tight.
I know some of you have been holding on tightly, waiting for me.
Either you are wrong or I am right.
And as usual, still the same thing applies. You are wrong, I'm right. That's the way it is. Thank you. Greetings. So the entire month of December went by. I didn't get anything done as far as recording, and we better quickly cover all the bases here. Let me, as usual, credit the opening theme song to Stating the Obvious, David Gilmour, off his 1984 album About Face. And of course, with me in the studio on the other side there is the lovely and adorable Randy. She is hanging out, reminding me what I'm talking about, keeping my train of thought from derailing. I have my cup of coffee. I have the traditional cigarette. I'm down to only 2 cigarettes left. I'm gonna have to break down and buy more. It's painful. I hate that. Of course, 2 cigarettes will last me a week, but still. And the email address, because I always forget to give it out, is sto@204eastsouth.com. This is where you can contact me. Tell me how much you praise me, how much you hate me, how much you adore me, how much you want to kill me. Whatever it is that's on your tiny little walnut-sized brain. So, I've been busy. That's why I haven't been here. Let's briefly, we'll briefly recount my personal life. So I was doing the theater thingy over at Bob Blue. We just finished The Little Prince adaptation of the children's book, That Little Prince, for those of you familiar with it. The script was not one of my most favored pieces of material. Oh, Randy, I have to do a speech Wednesday at Toastmasters, which I have zero preparation. I know what I'm talking about. Would you put that on my list, not to forget? Okay, thank you. So anyway, the script was not one of my favorite things, but we still managed to have a good time anyhow, up in the control booth with Robin, our stage manager, and Donut, our light board operator. We had fun. I ate a lot of food. I think I gained excuse me. I think I gained about 5 pounds on this show. Oh, on the subject of shows, I also watched the second and third movies in the Matrix trilogy. God, those were terrible. Let's just... Yeah, I could easily spend hours talking about how bad those movies were. Let me just say that those were really bad. I was incredibly disappointed considering how good the first one was. And on the subject of bad movies, about an hour ago, I just finished watching Spiderman 2, which I had totally been looking forward to. And boy, was I disappointed. You know, I'm telling you, Randy, there should be a limit on how much moralizing you do in a movie. I mean, the entire first half was just like, yeah, and it's like, so, he's Spider-Man, but he can't get to the theater on time. It's like, no, it was terrible. Alright. So, I got a huge backlog of stuff to do here, to talk about. I've had well over a month. For the most part, I've got the election out of my system. Of course, I'm sure there were, it still come up occasionally. But the election is over with, thank God. We can go back to making fun of Republicans, because I really miss that. And I'm really sure that we covered this already. Yeah, I know we did cover this. I'm checking that I still have here in my pile here the the letter blaming the riots at CSU on George Bush. We covered that already. I covered that in the last one. I know I did. The United Nations. Now this is coming up because I haven't had a chance to read everything on it, but now the United Nations is involved in all these sex scandals where they're selling people into prostitution and all these other things. Yet one more example of why the United Nations should be disbanded. Why it is a completely useless piece of crap that, well, I was about to say that I have no use for it, but that's kind of the definition of useless, isn't it? Right. Exactly, Randy, exactly. Yes. Anyway, the United Nations. I have this article here from Reader's Digest about the United Nations. Let's see, about over here, UN employees stealing vehicles, writing checks to themselves, forging invoices, bookkeeping of any kind is often non-existent. Remember, we bankroll this stuff. Yeah, and I'm not really sure what the Libertarian position is on the whole United Nations thing. It doesn't really seem to come up that much. But speaking entirely for myself, I would just as soon. Yeah, no, I am. Randy's commenting on my vocal quality. I am slightly stuffed up in the nose, which for those of you out there who are wondering why I sound a little funny, that's why. Yes. The United Nations is, in my opinion, a complete waste of time. It has accomplished nothing. Another investigation conducted last year found that the letter improved in one excuse me, folks. No, I am totally stopped up here. I have no idea what's going on. In one well-publicized case, UN employees in Africa took part in a plan to extort money from refugees hoping to leave for a better life in the West. Meanwhile, another group of UN workers was expelled from Bosnia after allegedly selling young girls into prostitution. Then, of course, we all know about how the Iraqi thing, the oil for food program, was abused, how money went to Saddam Hussein instead of food for the people. And so now with all these sex prostitution scandals busting out, I mean, this is hardly a surprise to me. So anyway, there will certainly be commentary on that once I've gotten around to studying the situation. Alrighty. We're going to cull through a stack of the Fort Collins Weekly here and make some commentaries. The Fort Collins Weekly, for those of you not in this area, is another throwaway rag that's published around here. It matches up with the Bullhorn. I should not whack the microphone with a coffee cup. Huh, Randy? Good idea, yeah. The Fort Collins Weekly is probably the most communist publication we have around here, and it's a toss-up between that and the Colorado one. And I have on my notes here, and really, this is still going on. Even this far after the elections, can you believe the whining that is still going on from the media? But yeah, and the point here, as we're looking at the media whining about the election, is I think this is good because the media has always, well, I shouldn't say always, has for a long time been attempting to deny that they are biased, that they are liberals, that they are Democrats, blah, blah, blah. And the great thing about all of this that's come out of this last election, the way they so shamelessly stumped for Kerry and so shamelessly lied for Kerry and everything else, is that it's, if you still believe that the mainstream media ABC, NBC, CBS, that most of the newspapers around you, that most of the throwaway rags like the Fort Collins Weekly, if you still believe that these people are unbiased and objective, then you've got to be completely idiot. You've got to be completely idiot. You've got to be a complete idiot. That sentence makes a little more sense, doesn't it? For all you idiots out there. What? Dan Rather. CBS stands by 60-minute report. No definitive evidence documents were fake. No. Let me read this to you. This is a... This is... I don't know what's going on with my sinuses here. This is not good. Folks, excuse me for one moment while I try to do something about this situation. Because quite honestly, as much as I need to do this, if I can't talk any better than this, I'm going to have to shut it down. Yeah. Some people are saying, yes, shut it down, please shut it down. Yes, I do have my detractors, if you can imagine that. Okay, yes, this is an Associated Press article. CBS News acknowledged memos it received about President Bush's service in the Air National Guard are difficult to definitively authenticate, but says they came from solid sources. Some forensic experts were quoted by news organizations, including the Associated Press, saying the memos appear to have been computer-generated with characteristics that weren't available 3 decades ago. On Friday, CBS Evening News anchor Dan Rather said that no definitive evidence has emerged to prove the documents are forgeries. If any definitive evidence comes up, we will report it, Rather said. Sure you were. The show broadcast excerpts of interviews with Marcel Martley, a San Francisco document expert, who said he believed the memos were genuine. CBS can state, quote, with absolute certainty, unquote, that the disputed memos could have been produced on typewriters available in the early 1970s when the memos were purported to have been written, the network said. Rather said the typeface... Rather said the typeface and style of the memos were available on typewriters since well before the 1970s. So Dan Rather is now an expert on typewriters, in addition to many other things. But see, here's what's interesting. This is from September the 15th. Okay, and this article goes on at length. Now that we know these documents were forged, isn't it amazing how we don't hear about this anymore? Remember, when the documents were suspected of being forged, this was like in the news every day, as CBS was defending itself and saying, why no, they are not forged. And as soon as we knew for a fact that they were forged, which those of us who aren't stupid knew for a fact anyway, all of a sudden, this totally dropped out of the news. Smoke-free in there, yes. Laramie became the first city in Wyoming to outlaw smoking in bars, restaurants, private clubs, and workplaces. So again, we see the... Yes, Randy was pointing out, I've had this pointed out to me before too, the subtlety of my transitions from one topic to another. Okay, we transition fast here in stating the obvious, okay? We don't have time to play around. When it's time to change the subject, I change. I mean, what else do you want me to say? I mean, the memos were fake. We know they were fake. Before everybody knew they were fake, it was in the news all the time about how, well, they're really not fake. But then once we knew it was fake, did you hear any news about, wow, now we know they're fake? Dan Rather lied. No, of course not. It just, bing, vanished. We won't talk about that anymore. We'll pretend it never happened. Meanwhile, in Wyoming, Laramie has implemented a smoking ban. Now, the interesting part of this right here is this little quote right here. This is from Mayor Fred Homer. It says here, who voted for the ban based on health issues. Quote, I don't see any constitutional issues in terms of freedoms being taken away. What kind of constitutional issues? Now, of course, if he's talking about a state constitution and it doesn't stipulate, I can't necessarily address this because I haven't read the Wyoming state constitution. Maybe it does say that, you can ban smoking. But my point that I'm going to make here is that if we're referring to the federal constitution, I just like to remind people that nothing in the federal constitution authorizes governments to ban smoking. And since the government is not supposed to be doing things it's not authorized to do, this whole argument that, well, it's not taking away any constitutional rights. I think this is this is another of those arguments which is based on the premise that the only rights you have are the ones which are explicitly granted by the Constitution. And this is not true. The only powers the government has are the powers explicitly granted to it by the Constitution. Somehow or another, along the way, that has apparently become totally lost to the American public and to especially our politicians. Of course, this isn't a surprise because politicians are always looking for a way to increase their power. We had a brief discussion at the theater was it last night? It was last night. Last night was closing night. Strike, party, all that good stuff. Just last night we had a brief political discussion. Apparently here in, I don't know if it's Fort Collins or if it's in the state, one of the cast members was telling me that they're intending to increase the penalty for purchasing alcohol for minors because, of course, of the Samantha Spady and all these other people. This other kid who died, because of alcohol poisoning in the frat houses and blah, blah, blah. And, of course, it was brought up that this wasn't going to really help solve the problem, to which I pointed out that the government isn't trying to solve the problem. In fact, the government is trying to increase the problem. Because if it's just like when all of this happened, the first thing they did was ban alcohol in the frat houses. So now, instead of the kids getting drunk in the frat house, they're going to go to somebody's private residence, get drunk there, then they're going to drive home intoxicated, and they're either going to get a DUI, or they're going to run over somebody, or kill themselves, or something like that. And the whole point of all the government's responses here isn't to actually reduce the amount of people who die from alcohol poisoning. It's to increase the number of people who die from alcohol poisoning so that it makes the problem even worse, so that they can impose even more draconian laws. The government needs a crisis in order for people to come to the government for help. Oh, here it is. I mentioned this a while back. Thank God. Talking about... See, I didn't even look at this. Here we go. This is an Associated Press article. This is another thing I love about the Weekly. The Weekly claims on their masthead here to be in-depth, informed, and independent. Yet most of their content is just Associated Press articles. These days anybody can run a newspaper. You just download articles off the AP website and you publish it. Anyhow, on the subject of alcohol in Fort Collins, it says here that in Fort Collins, 109 of the city's liquor establishments, or about 40%, are within a mile and a half of CSU's campus, including 13 within half a mile. Now, I talked about this before, but I'm going to talk about it again, because I got a map of Fort Collins, and lo and behold, did you know that approximately 40% of Fort Collins is within a mile and a half of CSU's campus? Now, isn't it incredible that 40% of the city's liquor establishments would be located in 40% of the city? This is amazing. This is incredible. Many of you out there probably regard this as some sort of evidence. Those of you with a brain recognize that this is common sense. This is like saying that 50% of your blood is in 50% of your body. This is like saying 100% of the water is wet. And of course 40% of the liquor establishments in town are within 40% of the town. It's 40%. I may in fact... Yeah. Yeah, I may in fact do that. Coffee. Excuse me. Alright, we're talking about my Toastmaster speech. I need to do a Toastmaster speech on manipulation of statistics, and I may in fact do that Wednesday. That may turn up in a speech very soon. Uh-oh. Pardon moi. A little French language for your French sloth. No, it's from Romeo and Juliet, although not. A French greeting for your French sloth is what he actually says. Yes, that's when Romeo returns from sleeping in late because he was hanging out on Juliet's balcony. It's Mercutio who says that. Is it Mercutio? Mercutio who says that to him? No, I'm having a brain cramp. I can't remember. Strength through peace. Bunch of wackos have one of their little get-togethers here in town. Yes, the entitled, it's Iraq. What now? The big thing at the top here says strength through peace. I flagged this because I just want to point out that you can't get strength through peace. It doesn't work that way. Yeah, well, admission was free because if you had to pay for it, remember, peaceniks don't have any money. They're all a bunch of dirty hippies. All they do is, smell bad and smoke dope. None of them have jobs. Strength through peace. I'm about sick of hearing strength through peace. I'd like to see somebody show me. Excuse me. I'd like to see somebody show me some strength through peace. Show them some strength through being bitch slapped upside the head. More coffee. And my stuffed upness is not getting better. Again, I apologize. Yes. Taliban, and here we have Taliban and Election Day no-show. Another Associated Press article here in the Weekly. My goodness, their reporters are so incredibly good. The Taliban vowed to turn Afghan elections into a day of bloodshed, but the rebels mounted only a smattering of small-scale attacks on police and civilians, and a larger clash that left many of their own dead. After months of what proved to be empty threats, military commanders and ordinary Afghans said Sunday the vote was a serious setback for the holdouts of the hardline Islamic regime that was driven from power by U.S. bombs almost 3 years ago for harboring Osama bin Laden. Abdul Hakim Lafifa, or something like that, a Taliban spokesman who last week warned that Afghans would be attacked if they voted, claimed Sunday that the rebels held back because, quote, innocent civilians had been forced to go and vote, unquote. Yeah, and there's another, I point this out only because it's yet another example of how wrong the liberals were. And, just to some extent, I have to say, it's how wrong I was also. I seriously thought we'd have coffee. I seriously thought that we would have a lot more problems in Afghanistan than we did, as far as taking the Taliban out of power and all this other stuff. And I'm not saying that things over there going perfect or anything. By no means am I saying that, and I certainly don't know. I'm not over there. I haven't been there. But I am saying I suspected there would be a lot more trouble. And the liberals, of course, and the news media predicted there'd be an assload more trouble. Excuse me. I just wanted to take this moment to point out, for those of you who listen to the media and believe the bullshit that comes from them, this is just another example of how astoundingly wrong these people are. I mean, this is what kills me about the media, is how often are these people wrong. They're wrong pretty consistently, pretty amazingly consistently, and yet why well, I was about to say a majority of the people, I don't actually know if it is a majority, why does anybody, however, continue to believe anything that comes out of these idiots' mouths? They're wrong time after time after time after time. These people, Dan Rather and all these other idiots in the media, they're wrong. Why does anybody keep listening to them? And lo and behold, on the subject of alcohol. Oh, this is, wow. This article I'm about to read from is another Associated Press article. Members of a University of Colorado fraternity scrawled racial and other slurs on the body of an 18-year-old pledge who has passed out and died hours later of alcohol poisoning, the father of the young man said. Lyndon Gordon Bailey, father of Gordy Bailey of Dallas, said the coroner told him markings were found on his son's arms, legs, and trunk. Bailey was white. One of the slurs was a 6-letter racial slur. Excuse me again. It goes on later. We still don't see any leadership from the university. They have not proposed any change in the system, but the system is killing our kids, said Michael Lanahan, Gordy Bailey's stepfather. This is not about binge drinking, it's about hazing at fraternities. How lucky is Chai Sai that 26 pledges survived? Actually, it is about binge drinking, as we'll see in a minute. CU excusez-moi. CU spokeswoman Paula Hale said the administration is, quote, continuing to work with the fraternity and sorority leaders to assess all aspects of Greek life, including the role of alcohol in social activities. Now, the main reason I'm pointing out this article is because those of you who listen to these things know a while back I went on a little rant about how here at CSU, the whole reason they got all excited about Samantha Spady is not so much because she died of alcohol poisoning, but because she was young and, I said pretty and white. She is white. Actually, the pretty part is somewhat debatable. Let's say she's not incredibly ugly. What's interesting is this article is about this death at CU, but interestingly enough, accompanying the article is a photograph of, you guessed it, Samantha Spady. Excuse me. Now, if it's about a dead... The article is about a dead white man at CU, and yet it has a picture of a dead white girl from CSU. Why is that? Is it because white girls are prettier than white boys? Yeah, I just find it interesting the way they're milking her death for sympathy. Of course, they don't see it that way, but I'm afraid I do. Yeah, I haven't kept up with the alcohol task force. For those of you in the know, or for those of you not in the know, CSU formed a alcohol task force to evaluate the rules and regulations and use of and blah 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 alcohol by CSU students, and as a extension of that, the use of and existence of alcohol here in Fort Collins. I haven't heard anything lately about how that's going. I can't wait for the ramifications to start filtering down. Well, yeah, this whole, we're going to up the penalties for buying alcohol for minors. That's part of the ramifications, of course. Wait, this is before the election, right? Yeah, this one is from October the 26th. I'm looking at what I had marked here. Hope springs eternal. Bill Clinton, recovering from heart surgery, is lobbying Kerry to compete in his home state of Arkansas. Ah, yes, Bill Clinton. The Democrats act like God has come down to earth. Oh, but wait. Kerry got his ass kicked, didn't he? What is this? What is this that I have marked here? Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, now see this is great. Okay. I know. Everybody out there thinks I'm insane. Actually, I'm not insane. I'm just schizophrenic. No, but this segues perfectly with something I read in the newspaper today, which I should have for this. I'm too lazy to get off my ass and go get it. So hang with me here. Yes. So we're talking about now I'm trying to debate if I want to read all of this. Yeah, what's that? Yeah. Oh, Randy makes a good point. If I just read the bloody thing, it would be the same as the amount of time I'm wasting trying to debate if I should read it or not. Yes. Radical, yes. These must be the same people, anyone it seems, myself included, who oppose Musgrave's effort to amend the Constitution of the United States by making gay marriage illegal. The need to narrow the definition of love and marriage down to a man and a woman would, under her vision, be accorded the same status as other truly defining moments in our nation's history, such as the abolishment of slavery or granting women the right to vote. A big mistake that was. Well, it was. Ever since we let you women vote, everything's gone to shit. Actually, it went to shit before that. I'm just kidding. All the feminazis out there are fucking getting their panties in a wad right now. They get their bras in a wad, but they don't wear bras. Oh god, I was talking to bras on the final night of The Little Prince. The Little Prince was played by my friend Brittany, who is a senior in high school. And for the part, she's supposed to be playing a boy. So they wrap her breast in order to flatten her chest so she looks like a boy. The final night, one of the other actors, Molly, I think it was Molly, I'm blaming it on Molly, I'm pretty sure it was Molly. Molly took Brittany's bra and put it in the freezer. So much you get it. It was frozen. Oh my god, it was funny. By the way, that has nothing to do with homosexual marriage or Marilyn Musgrave. That was just totally an aside. I will continue reading. Excuse me, folks, my throat. I am trying to suffer through this. As expected during any political campaign, those who do not support her beliefs have taken out opposition ads, and the ads supported by those she labels radical pro-homosexual marriage backers concern her. They should. They quote, "They could succeed in defeating me and crush the pro-marriage movement," she exclaims, declaring that this is, quote, "an emergency turn of events," unquote. Based on the intent of this urgent, a word she uses several times, email, the most important piece of her platform for re-election is her anti-gay stance. The people of Colorado need to know that. Is this amendment Musgrave's only legislative focus? Is it of great benefit to our state, of more concern than issues of jobs, economic development, or clean water and air? Quote, I have no other choice but to ask for urgent help from pro-family Americans like you, unquote. She writes, again raising more questions. Does this mean if you're gay you cannot be part of a family? Where does that leave Vice President Dick Cheney's daughter? Is this what a congressional leader should focus on? Now the whole Musgrave thing, she for those of you not in the know, Musgrave is one of our local idiot politicians, and she's one of the driving forces behind the amendment to decide. Do amendments decide things? The amendment to declare that marriage can only take place between a man and a woman. Now, for the record, for those of you who have missed it, because I know I've stated this before, I'm opposed to this stupidity. I am opposed to... Yeah, alright, I'm going for the article. Yeah, so everybody hang on for a moment, there's going to be some dead air. I'm back. I am opposed to this incredibly stupid idea. I'm opposed to the concept that we need a constitutional amendment to determine marriages between a man and a woman. I am opposed to the concept of marriage having to be between a man and a woman. I am opposed to the concept of marriage having to be between only two people, which of course the pro-homosexual marriage group is also opposed to, which is why I do not support them. I am also opposed to the government deciding what is marriage and who can be married and everything else, which is of course another thing, which is of course something the homosexual marriage group obviously supports, because if they didn't think it was the place of the government to decide who can be married, they wouldn't be trying to go through the government to get laws passed to allow them to get married. So I am opposed to this in virtually every way, manner, shape, and form that can be opposed. One thing I have said, however, all during the election, before the election, and after the election, is that this whole constitutional amendment on marriage thing is just a smokescreen, or maybe not such a smokescreen. It's a carrot. It's a false promise. It's something to get people who are opposed to this to vote for Bush and other Republicans. I always said that this wouldn't pass and that there wasn't going to be a whole lot of effort put into passing it. This is one of those things that all politicians do. They say, oh, I'm going to do this, this, this. And when they get in office, it just kind of goes by the wayside. Like, remember Bill Clinton, before he got elected, he was going to make it okay for homosexuals to join the military. And 3 days after he's president, he comes out and he says, well, you know, what we'll just do is we'll have a don't ask, don't tell policy, which is not what he promised. So, here we go. In today's newspaper, Bush will not battle for gay marriage ban. During his Friday interview at the Washington Post, Bush said for the first time that he will not press senators to pass a constitutional amendment banning gay marriage, the top priority for many social conservative groups. While seeking re-election, Bush voiced strong support for the ban, and many political analysts credit this position for inspiring record-high turnout among evangelical Christians who are fighting same-sex marriage at every juncture it arises. And now Bush is saying he's not going to push. This is exactly what I had been telling you. I said it all along. Bush doesn't give a flying fuck about this. I was about to call it an abortion amendment. I don't know where my brain is at. About this marriage amendment thing. He said this crap to get these people to vote for him. They voted for him. He's in. He can't get elected again. He's not. He is not. I'm telling you, people. For those of you out there who are sitting around at home and fretting over this, and you think that there's, and again, don't. I know I feel kind of bad saying this because I spend all my time talking about how the government wants to keep people stupid, how the government wants to take away your freedom. Yeah, I believe these things, how the government wants more people to die from alcohol poisoning so they can get more power. But I am telling you, this is one of those things, I'm going to put this right, there are some things out there, this one ranks right up there with abortion. It's just like the odds, the chance that abortion is going to be made illegal in this country are absolutely zero. These people who tell you that you need to support the pro-choice movement, the pro-baby killer movement, because your right to abortion is going to be taken away from you, they are lying to you to get your money. And it's the same thing here. If you people are actually worried that this stupid amendment is going to pass, I'm telling you it's not going to happen. I'm telling you. The government's going to pass the Patriot Act. They're going to read our email. They're going to conduct search and seizures without warrants. They're going to do a lot of things, but I'm telling you, there is absolutely zero chance of this passing. And for those of you out there who are wasting your time opposing it, I have to wonder if that's not part of it too. Let's give these people something to oppose that we don't care about anyhow, and they can waste their effort on that. I seriously, I have to wonder. I know that this was used to get the evangelical vote out for Bush, but I have to wonder to what extent this whole issue is being used to distract people from things that could be more important. I'm telling you, I'm telling you one more time, this thing has absolutely zero chance of passing. Zero. If you're laying awake at night worried about this, you're laying awake for no reason. If you're dumping money and effort into opposing this thing, you're doing it for no reason. My voice is totally going out. Now here, we have something truly interesting. For once, there's something in the weekly that actually matters. Is a Pink Floyd reunion in the works? For those of you who don't know this, I am a huge Pink Floyd fan. It is according to Britain's Q magazine. The magazine quotes Pink Floyd founder and bassist Roger Waters as saying he is planning to bring the band together for a series of lucrative shows in 2005. The band broke up in the mid-'80s, and Waters and his former bandmates have had here's a new word, acrimonious relationship for years. The I can't read. The bassist lyricist filed an unsuccessful lawsuit in 1986 to attempt to keep Dave Gilmour and Nick Mason from using the Pink Floyd name without him. Waters' manager, however, claims the reunion rumors are mere speculation at this point in time. I would be highly interested to see the Floyd get together again and see what happened out of that. Ooh, yes, and I still haven't seen this movie. Team America, World Police. But I totally want to. Now, here's a review of Team America, World Police. And this is, I'm going to read this to you to illustrate yet again the non-existent objectivity of the media. We write here, Parker and Stone, who also provide the voices, make hilarious direct hits on the Bush administration's swaggering Bring It On War on Terror. In the Cairo assault, a Team American reassures the locals, "Fear not, Muslim friends, we're here to find terrorists." In the same scene, our heroes enter an exotic Casbah that updates the famous Wild West alien bar in Star Wars. Now here we're ranting about, Parker and Stone making fun of Bush and everything. The review goes on, and then they write, he writes, if Stone and Parker walk a fine line between tart and tasteless, they fall flat on their smirking faces in the movie's offensive second half. A barrage of homophobic jokes, mostly about oral sex, takes center stage. Despite all those evil-doing terrorists, Stone and Parker reserve most of their venom for their hit list of Hollywood liberals like Alec Baldwin, and Martin Sheen, who have spoken out against Bush and the Iraq War. The adolescent tip-off is that these bleeding hearts belong to the Film Actors Guild. Fag. Not only that, but Baldwin and company are traitorously in league with the North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. So, you see, when we were making fun of George Bush and Dick Cheney, see, that was good. Those were hilarious, direct hits, I quote. But see, when we make fun of liberal film actors, that is tasteless. That is offensive. It's just amazing how... And yet, many of you out there are going, why no, the media is objective and unbiased. Why, they are the fourth branch of government. They keep an eye on the government and keep us free. Oh, my God. What is this? And do I care? Let's see. Why did I mark this? And oh, see, here we go. Some idiot writing in a letter about how it's so important to have a Democratic president, blah blah blah, because the president and these justices want to overturn Roe versus Wade. I'm telling you, people, every time somebody tells you you need to give them money to protect your right to an abortion, I'm telling you, it's all about getting the money. Roe versus Wade is not going to be overturned. And laws against what do you call it, partial birth abortion are not a danger to the right to, because if you can't see the Randy's asking me, am I opposed to partial birth abortions? Before I answer that, let me read this, because we just finished that great movie review which shows the unbiased and objectivity of the media. Here is the undercover chef. Why am I having a brain cramp column, which is the restaurant reviews. Man, my brain, it is not functioning. And the one they're reviewing here is Sanford's Grub and Pub, for those of you around Fort Collins. I've been there a number of times. I like it a lot. It's at 200 Jefferson Street. It's pretty yummy, pretty yummy. Anyhow, let me read to you the final paragraph of this restaurant review. And you tell me if this person is an unbiased, objective person, or is this person a liberal Democrat who hates America and everything America stands for. Listen to this. The food at Sanford's was, all in all, pretty good. The service was friendly, and you can't say the place isn't high-spirited. But it's still just a wee bit weird. Sure, I'm being difficult, but the homage to excess was vaguely disturbing. Let's prove how big a beer you can get, how big a plate can be. Let's use gigantic silverware and stimulate every sense with TVs and every inch of wall space or ceiling space covered with some semblance of Americana. This is all good-natured, of course, but I keep thinking about which images of America Sanford's is selling. Now, you see, if you go to Sanford's, they had, and it's true, the walls and the ceilings are completely covered in Americana memorabilia. And the plates are large, and you can get a big beer, you can get a small beer. The silverware is a little oversized. But, the lining, I keep thinking about which image of America Sanford's is selling. Here, we're lamenting the excesses of America. How dare Sanford celebrate the excesses of America? You know what? That's one of the reasons I go there. I'm tired of going to a restaurant and getting some little bitty meal that wouldn't even fill up the stomach of some starving kid in Ethiopia. If I go to a restaurant, lay down a bunch of money, I want some food, damn it. I want to be able to eat and walk out there with a full stomach. Maybe that's why restaurants run by liberals always go out of business. Yeah, like the Oak Street Cafe. The Oak Street Cafe used to be downtown here, and it eventually crashed and burned. They always had all these little liberal, communist, progressive get-togethers down there. It's like, so when the bulk of your business consists of a bunch of dirty pot-smoking hippies who don't have jobs, it's not like they can buy a lot, and if they're not buying a lot, it's not like your restaurant's going to stay in business, right? If you want to run a restaurant, you got to cater to people who are going to buy food. in order for people to buy food, they got to work so they have money so they can pay for the food. They also need to do something besides sitting around smoking dope so that they'll be hungry enough to want something to eat. Oh, yeah. I guess, well, that's true. I've never smoked dope, so I wouldn't actually know that for a fact. But Randy's pointing out that smoking dope gives you the munchies. So this is where we ask Randy, how do you know that smoking dope gives you the munchies? Yeah, she's pleading the fifth. She says she saw it on television. It was in a Cheech and Chong movie, right? Okay. Oh. And now we're running, yeah. How much time do we have? We have like only a minute, don't we? I don't have time to go into this next thing. Next on the hit list, for those of you who are tired of hearing me diss Democrats, next on the hit list is our diss Democrats. Yeah. Those of you tired of hearing me whine about liberals in the media, when you come back for the next one, I'm going to pick this up by whining about conservatives, or at least semi-conservatives in the media. We're going to be talking about Bill O'Reily and his little and his vibrator fetish. Yes. See, this is the, no, yeah, I think I will say this because this will be a great jumping off point for the next one, because I have spent a lot of time talking bad about liberals, and so it's time for me to start laying down the law on conservatives also, because there's going to be people out there whose only exposure to my belief system has been through stating the obvious here, and if you're not careful, you could read and listen to these things and come off with a serious impression that I'm some sort of fucking Republican. And you know, as I often say, I hate Republicans and Democrats both. I just hate Democrats more because they're so much easier to make fun of. But that doesn't mean that Republicans don't give us, well, don't give me plenty of material to work with. I mean, we got Bush and Cheney doing all those crazy things, and then we've got Bill O'Reilly, who normally, I mean, I love watching O'Reilly Factor, because when he gets fired up, it's hilarious. Did you? When he's on Mad TV, I love it when he's on Mad TV, and then they did the one on Mad TV where they did the skit making fun of him, where Bill O'Reilly interviewed himself because he was the only person that could hold out against him, you know, in debate. He's arguing with himself. No, you're always right. You're never wrong. No, you're never wrong. No, Bill. You know, Bill, but the only person who's never wrong is God. When Bill says to himself, but Bill, you are God. Yes. It was hilarious. And he's always plugging his books. I'm Bill O'Reilly. Buy my new book. I'm Bill. Oh my God! Do you think anybody's thought about the Bill O'Reilly Vibrator? Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Buy my new vibrator. The Bill O'Reilly signature vibrator. Want to add some fun to your talking points? So yeah, we'll get to Bill O'Reilly in the next one. It'll be fun. All right, everybody, join us then.